Hi, my name is Greg Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. On today's podcast, I chat with the wonderful Swedish singer Camilla Griehsel, who shares her life and musical story, which is full of both joyful and heartbreaking moments. In part 1, she talks about her early years, exploring her gift for singing. Camilla is comfortable in nearly every genre of music, and this took her from busking, to barbershop, to church choir, to piano bars, to singing in a holiday resort, and then to a Norwegian pop band called One Too Many. Life changed when she met and fell in love with Colin Veercombe, otherwise known as Black, famous for the global hit song Wonderful Life. Let's hear from Camilla. Camilla Griehsel, a big welcome to the Win Happy podcast. How are you doing?
Really well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, and thanks for welcoming me into your beautiful home in West Cork. And the amazing thing, we're actually getting a summer's day in the summer.
Yes.
In West Cork.
Finally. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, when all of those bits come together, it's a little bit special, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Everyone's in good form. Everywhere you go, everyone's like, oh, hi, you know. I love those days when the sun's shining. I love the other days too, but when the sun's shining, it's really good. Everyone's happy. Yeah.
Are you having a good day so far?
Yes, really lovely day.
So what are you up to? What's on your mind? What's challenging you? What's perplexing you? What's going on?
Oh my God, that's a big question. What's on my mind right now, which is not perplexing, it's just pleasant, is a lot of music. I'm doing a few different concerts done, and I've got some more to do. And the next thing I'm embarking on is the Barefoot Baroque concerts, where we go out to the islands around here and little quaint sort of venues to sing Baroque music. Often barefoot, as it says. So I'm thinking about all that music because I'm in the middle of learning some new stuff, and because I only really sing Baroque music and early music probably once a year these days. I sing a lot of different music, but that music is just once a year. So I'm thinking about that, and I really have actively trained myself to think about the things that give me pleasure and that might give other people pleasure, like performing music in front of people rather than getting dragged into the news and what's going on, because it's heartbreaking, and you know, as we're all human beings, it's impossible not to feel the absolute, I just can't believe what's going on at the moment, you know. So I really have to practice and think about what I can do locally that might be uplifting rather than going down, you know. And I really admire the people that are going out to demonstrate for peace and that are in contact. And I've sent some money, and sometimes when I look at it all on social media and listen to the news, it's actually too much. So that would be challenging, yes, very challenging for me. But I do what I do, and that's I make music, and I try to make life as beautiful as possible. And I feel very, very blessed and lucky in that I can do that, and be grateful for that, you know, and share that.
It is a catch-22, isn't it? Whether, as you say, we shouldn't ignore what's going on, but there is that balance between collapsing under the dark cloud of everything that really is crappy going on. It's a terrible time. And of course we are blessed then, you know, to be living on the other side of it. That's probably a flip of a coin, isn't it? The kind of life that you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Completely controlled by where you're born.
Yeah, totally. Where do I pop out?
Yeah, exactly.
And who are my parents, and what country am I living in, and you know, what kind of parents are they? If I was to bump into you on an airplane and we're chatting away, the orange juice and the peanuts have been served, and I asked you, what do you do? What would you say to me?
I sing. My mother and a grandmother and a sister and a daughter. Those things are important. And a friend. But I'm a singer. That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do. And sometimes I'm a kind of facilitator to people that want to sing, and sharing what I have to share. Don't really like to call it teaching because it's a real exchange of something, but I do that. But singing, yeah. And weaving stories together and making that into a... Yeah, I like weaving some stories together with music and performing that. Yeah. And that's what I've been doing the last few years, mainly, with my show, Mama Song, yeah.
I think you like making things happen.
Yes, I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, creating. Because I saw a description of you, a Swedish world music diva.
I know, where did diva come from?
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Someone that didn't like me very much.
But it seems to be an official thing, and I'm thinking, okay, because diva sounds like, someone who's, just the French now, but up their own backside a little bit and
totally
full of themselves.
Absolutely.
That's how you know.
I hope not. I don't know. Someone maybe saw me like that. I have no idea where that came from, actually, now that I think about it. But it does pop up.
Yeah.
I think it might be because I used to sing opera.
Yeah, that might go with that kind of discipline of music or that genre.
Maybe.
Yeah. That everyone is a bit stuck up or something.
Yeah. It's funny how I've seen it pop up, as you say, as now as well, and I don't really know. I don't remember where that first started, but it's a bit like you can choose how you look at it. So diva could be, what it actually means. Like a kind of you could think about you as an artist, as that you want to share something and shine something out and share and whatever. You can look upon it in a beautiful way, much like blow-in can be a really bad word. When my friend Lydia, in fact, Fergus, or Farrell's sister Lydia Little, she said to me, yeah, but blow-in also means what the sea brought into the land to nourish the land, So then I've always I prefer to look upon it like that maybe you come here and you bring something that you can contribute, that you can share, and that you want to be part of it, So I don't take the bad blow-in thing.
I was chatting to someone recently and they were saying that they love being described as being a blow-in.
Yeah.
That is like, we should wear T-shirts, Camilla.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think, in particular in West Cork, if you're not from that particular village, it doesn't necessarily mean a different country or city. I think it's even, you're not born and bred, within 100 yards. You might be classified as being a blow-in.
Totally. And this community is so welcoming. Yeah. Mostly. And it is, there is a lovely mix of that. And I think mostly I felt very welcome here, and certainly since when you go through difficult times, my husband dying and all that the community has been incredible. Like, I'm still awestruck by the support we got from this community. It's incredible. Yeah.
And maybe in a place where it's not incredibly built up and everything, you do need to mind your neighbours a little bit more. We've discovered that being down here. I have a house in the city, in Cork, and yet down here, even in a short time, that relationship you have with your neighbours, it's huge. Maybe in the background, everyone knows that we are actually very dependent on each other.
Totally.
If something maybe goes wrong or there's an emergency, I'm not sure if that's what's behind everything, but like already, we're to the neighbours more than once. It goes deep, really they want to get to know you, and in a positive way, not in a negative way. So on the subject of where you end up popping out, where did you pop out?
I popped out in Stockholm. Yeah. My mother was from the north, well, it's actually the middle of Sweden, but because Sweden is so long, we call it the north. So she comes from the woods. She was a little wood sprite, my mum, but she moved to Stockholm, and then she met my father there, who is Sudet German. So they fell in love in 1954 or something. He was 5 years, after 5 years in a Siberian prison camp.
Wow.
From 17 to 22. And then all the German people that were in Sudetenland were all pushed out then after when the war finished. So they were all in a camp where they thought that he was dead. But anyway, he found his family, studied sociology, ended up going to Denmark to study sociology, and was on a trip, on a study trip in Stockholm, and met my mom, and they fell madly in love and exchanged letters for years. And in those days, falling in love with a German man wasn't particularly popular. But anyway, they ended up making their home in Stockholm. Eventually they married, and so that's where I come from.
Are they still alive?
No, sadly not. My mother died shortly after my husband, and my father died in 2020 from COVID. Yeah.
And when life settled down for them in Stockholm, what did they both do career-wise?
So my father was a social worker, and my mum a teacher, and my mum then became a speech therapist later in her life. And my father started his own business for a while as well, but mainly he was a social worker, and specifically he worked in an institution with children that had drug problems, and ultimately saved quite a lot of people that are still in contact, with us. Yeah. Wow. So that was, we used to have a lot of people, all the problem children in the summer that my mom used to teach. They were all at our house in the summer during the holidays and stuff like that. So
what a privilege to do a job like that and make such a difference to people, isn't it? Mm.
Yeah, no, that they've left a good legacy there with that, and a good example of how to be a citizen and be helpful. How to. They were beautiful people.
Were you living in the city?
We lived outside. So my mum and dad and their best friends bought a plot of land because it was 4 of them buying it. They could buy this plot of land by a lake. So we were right on a lake. And they built the 2 houses themselves with help of friends, and everyone was roped in. And that was when I was just born that they started this project. So I have lived there most of my life in this lovely spot right on a lake. Yeah.
How nice.
Yeah, I know. It's so lucky, really so lucky. And they worked so hard to provide that home for us, whilst both working full time. I'm full of admiration for them, really. And so it was, we weren't particularly rich people or anything like that, but we grew up in an amazing spot, really amazing spot.
What were the conversations around the kitchen table in your home?
Gosh, everything. So I think with a lot of, I have 2 older sisters, and they're much like my father, very opinionated, and apparently I am too. I never thought I was. But they were quite strong in their opinions. So there'd be everything, politics, and a lot of politics, I'd say. My father was very involved in that as well, and they're doing the right thing and was out demonstrating, and so we would have been used to that, Yeah.
It was an interesting house.
Yes. Lots, not always the nicest tone, but it was always, everything came out. It wasn't, people didn't hold back, but there's a lot of love, always. A lot of love. My mom and I were the calmer ones, I think, and I think my position in my family was always the safe one, who made everything okay, and the little sister, the little annoying sister who was always happy, which is just a role you play in your family, which is a safe role, I suppose. But a good one, and it's not that it isn't real, but sometimes to be that flexible and bendy can take its toll on yourself, you know what I mean?
It kind of shows you as well that there's a dynamic, isn't there, within any family, within any building, within any office.
Yes.
Where people have to play different roles, and if there's super tension, someone then plays the role of just bringing it all down a bit, try to create a bit of harmony. It is interesting, and you mightn't have been perfectly built for that role, but you end up playing it anyway.
And my mum used to say that, how come you became so wise? I'm not blowing my own horn here, but that's what she always used to say. You know, because I'd be like, why are you, if people were fighting, why are you fighting? Well, fight what you're fighting about. You're not fighting at what, you know, you're not fighting about what you really want to fight about. And this was me when I was like 7 and 8. I listened and saw quite a lot of things. I was quite shy. I think I still am, of course, being on stage. I think most people, you know, and I think I'm still quite shy of certain things anyway. And
Where did the music come from?
Again, not really sure. My mom, as the teacher, she used to play the piano and a little bit with the kids in school and stuff like that. And every Christmas we would sing around the piano. And I suppose I just liked singing. And my sister, also Marika, we used to sing together quite a bit. And I remember we got a recording, with a cassette recorder that we used to record little. We used to make radio programs. He's a journalist and I was a singer. So, you know, so we had that together. And then, but then everyone, you know, again, I was this little kid and that made people happy, I suppose, whatever. So I used to be wheeled out to sing since I was like 5 or 6 at people's parties and that was extraordinary to see the grown men cry and to see the effect that music can have. I mean, I didn't think about it like that as a child, but I remember it very well, how a room can change with music and the human voice. Very interesting. So
even as a young girl?
I mean, I could sense everything changed, but I couldn't put words to it then. Because, you know, I remember it very well. And the feeling of it, and I say power not in a sort of manipulative way, but just the actual power of music is immense. And then from that, I had a teacher in school who also, and I played a little bit of guitar, and we used to have little performances in school, and she said you should do an audition for this music school called Adolf Fredrik, which is it's a normal school but with music, so you have all the normal subjects, but you have also music, which means so you do an audition. And if you get in, great. And then I spent 6 years with the same people, singing every day with the same children in the same class, you know. And we did a lot of performing. We did a lot of, so, you know, we obviously learned to read music and all that kind of stuff, and sing in harmonies and sing in choir. So I've always loved choir singing and, you know, making music together, collaborating. You know, it comes from that. That's how it became ingrained in me that was what I was enjoying. And
How does the shy girl do all of that?
I suppose there is some sort of knowing that there's certain things that you just have to do. You know, that when I'm always happy when I'm singing. You know, I feel well, and I'm singing a lot at the moment, and the last years haven't been so easy, so I'm actually feeling happy every day, because I'm singing every day. And sometimes when you're going through difficult times, singing might not be the first thing, but actually I have sung quite a lot the last years, much more than in the past at times, much more regularly and performing more, and so it's just something I have to do. It's like a calling or something, you know.
Is that something you always knew? Did you always know that?
I think so.
Contribute to your happiness?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And not just to mine, but to others as well.
I'm just trying to pitch the young Camilla at home. Are you just soaking up the music that's been played on the radio? Are you singing along to the different songs? Are you learning things like... Was that your mother saying, okay, we need to learn these 5 songs or something? How did that work?
No, it was more like I was learning the piano, and then as I was in the school, we were always learning music. So, and with the result of a concert here and there, sometimes a big concert with the whole school. So there's always something on. And privately, I would have learned the piano a small bit, although I wouldn't know it today. And similarly, when I was a bit older, I started learning to play the harp. The concert harp. I did that for maybe 3 years and realized that that would have been a very difficult instrument to lug around. 47 strings that are a very sensitive instrument that you have to tune, and anyway, I stopped doing that, but it's something I would love to take up again maybe when I'm a bit older.
I must introduce you to a man who is making harps.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be lovely. Is he down here?
He is. He's a neighbour. Mike Baldwin is his name.
Oh, wow.
He's not living too far away from us. He is a teacher in London. But one of these little things that he does as a hobby is make harps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. I'd love to meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and my father was really into his music as well, and we would play records. Smith and I would be the one that the Moldau that I remember very well that used to play. So on Sunday mornings there used to be records played, and then Glenn Miller was a big thing for my mum and dad, because we used to be, much like it developed. And we used to always be part of their parties. They would have parties, and we would be allowed to stay up with all the girls and dance with, and all that. We just used to be up and hang out with them when they had their parties. And then with the result that when we started having our parties, they were always part of that. So we've been very close-knit in that way. So we've shared a lot of music in different ways for that. And yeah, certainly got a lot of music from them as growing up in that respect, and also from their friends. Remember that someone left the Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band, that album. I can still see it in front of me, and I played that until nearly broke, I think.
Yeah. When you think of your mum and dad, does any music come to mind specifically?
Well, particularly with my dad, it's Die Moldau by Smith, and
Okay.
and that piece. And with my mum, probably Swedish folk songs. She loved Evert Taube, for instance. Så skimrande var aldrig havet, which is a song that describes, so shimmering was never the sea as when we walked, and your hair covered my face, blah, blah, blah. It's a beautiful song about someone's first kiss, so yeah.
And tell me, with you, did you know you were good at music? Was that just part of who you were and that was the end of it, you never thought about it? Or did you think, yeah, the other kids are good at whatever, but this is actually a gift, I'm actually really good at this thing?
I never thought about it like that. No, I just, because we were in that school, we were all the children.
Your peers, everyone was talented, I presume.
Yeah. And I suppose I got a small notion that I might have been musically kind of gifted when I was asked, as two children out of the whole class or the whole school, I can't remember, maybe the whole school of that age, to go to Yugoslavia, as it was then, to make music with the children. I was 12, and I had already promised my best friend that we would go on a riding camp, and we had already made that plan. And I remember this being the most difficult decision of my life, and it's come back to me actually when that did something to me, because my mom said, no, you have to decide this, what you're going to do. This is I didn't want to let my friend down. That was the first decision, so I decided not to go on this.
Oh. Okay.
I decided to stay and be with my friend in the riding camp, yeah. And that was a big decision to make.
Yeah.
And it's probably colored my life in some way. I'm not saying that to pity myself or in a pitiful way. It's just something that I chose. And
your mum gave you great advice, didn't she?
She did. She did.
Because that is huge for a kid, where you've got the loyalty thing going on, and you don't want to break a promise, but obviously there was something else you really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And are you still good buddies with that girl?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, because we went on the riding camp, not because of that. No, but I wouldn't have let her down, no, I wanted to do that too. But there's something about choosing selfishly. That's not something I probably find that quite difficult. I want to share something, but I don't know. I don't even know how to. But I know that it made probably a difference in my life, that I didn't go with that. It was just not something that felt right for me to do. But stay with your first commitment, so. Was
there ever any possibility of you doing anything career-wise other than music?
Well, in my childhood, I either wanted to be sort of musician or singer or a diplomat or a rally driver.
Well, you were the diplomatic one at home.
Yes,
I don't know where the rally driving came from.
The rally drive, because I love cars. I love cars. Like I love them, and I still love them. And I have a motorbike license, and I don't have a motorbike, and I haven't ridden one for ages. But I suppose I was like I'm sort of a tomboy. I was 3 daughters, and my dad finally got like kind of a son, really. Anyway.
And when did you realise music was a career?
When I was in America. So I went to America for the Leaving Cert year. So I went the year before to take my Leaving Cert. I went on a scholarship to Virginia and did the last year of high school there. And I wasn't the high school that I was in Sweden wasn't the music school. I wasn't in that school anymore. So I was still singing quite a lot. I was singing in a barbershop group, and we were kind of busking around the old town in Stockholm. And I was also singing in church quite a lot as a soloist, and in a choir, and then I started singing piano bar. So I was already singing quite a lot, but I hadn't really thought of it as a career at the time. I didn't know what quite to do. Anyway, I went to America, and on the curriculum there was theatre and acting and music. That was part of the curriculum. It wasn't something you did extra, which it had been in the school that I was. And I got so much encouragement there, and I grew a bit of confidence, I think, quite a lot of confidence when I was over there. They have a different way of going about, I don't know, there's just a different, in Sweden we have this thing called the law of Jante. It's basically, who do you think you are?
Well, that's kind of an Irish trait as well.
Yes, that's probably why I love, but I love living here. I can relate very much so, but that didn't exist there. That wasn't really part. If you were like that, is that people just, but why? Yeah, it probably goes back down to being 12 and choosing that as well, rather than I don't know. It's mixed. It's all a bit mixed with the commitment and who do you think you are, all of this. But I find it a constant challenge to choose well, so that you feel good inside yourself. You're doing the right thing. Sorry, I keep touching this microphone.
Cool. They were telling you were amazing. You're awesome.
You're awesome, exactly. You're awesome, Camilla. You're so awesome. And I also started singing with so I acted in school, and I got a main part, and we won a play in I think it was the state of Virginia, and really got into the acting and the singing as well. But also the main thing that really happened was that I was singing with, I was quite shocked at America. I thought America wasn't, the Kids from Fame or the Cosby Show or anything like that. It was, I could not get over the racism. I thought I was coming to the land of tomorrow, and it was appalling, the racism.
Was it?
I was in Virginia, and most of my friends were coloured, or whatever the right word is. I get confused as to what to call it these days, and with whom, whatever. But yeah, so all the people from that community were basically living on the other side of the highway or the railroad tracks, and it was just, what's going on here? Anyway, I ended up having most friends from that community, and was taken to their Baptist church. So I was the only pink person that was in there.
Who the hell is that creature?
Yeah, but it was also interesting to be on the other side of that. But oh my God, the welcome again. And it was the same, like, you're not white, you're Swedish,
It's a different category.
Yeah, but that's when I've always loved singing in church, but that's when I really, really got how wonderful that experience can be when you're in church. And that is for, I used to sit in church like with my fingers in my ears in Sweden, because everything was about how I had sinned, and I was like 10 years old. I'm going, no, I haven't, blah, 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 until it was over, and then I would sing, that's the only reason I was there. But in this church, it was all about praise the Lord, and all that. It was like that. It was really wonderful. Beautiful, and the harmonies and the joy of singing, and oh my God, it was stunning. So I got very nurtured by that,
when I think about going to church, which I don't do anymore, my God, it was so boring.
Really boring.
And I remember in our particular church, there was a priest who started doing it was like a folk mass. And basically it was, young people with their guitars and all that kind of thing. And suddenly the mass was a little bit enjoyable. But in your case, and you see this, I guess, on the telly an awful lot, but that black community, my God almighty, music is just an integral part of their, it's like jump for Jesus.
Yeah.
But it's all of that, it's that togetherness.
Yeah. It's the community. I mean, just somewhere you meet, which it probably was here too, but there you meet and you're joyous. There might be some serious stuff going on, but it's a real community and people feel at home there, and you go there and you're nurtured. You're not getting drunk, you're not going to the pub, you're actually going somewhere to be lifted, and you are lifted each time. It's incredible. I'm still in touch with those people. In fact, it's coming up to 40 years since I was there, and there's a reunion in October, so I'm thinking about going.
Itching?
I'm thinking about going, although I'm not too keen to go to America at the moment for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shit show, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit. My God.
Yeah. So music is an international passport. While, you may not have thought that it was a career. People were starting to give you money to do bits and bobs. But you did jot around the globe.
I did.
With your music. Can you give me the map?
Okay, so I came back from America. I did the last year of school there and graduated. And then I was didn't feel like I should go to university. I wanted to travel. So I got a job with three other guys that I knew from choir stuff. We got a job in Gran Canaria, singing in a hotel.
Yeah, for tourists, I presume.
For tourists, yeah. And that was serious graft, 6 days a week.
I can imagine.
Afternoon and evening.
Punching out all the hits so people could sing along.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of training there. It was great.
Sipping on their cocktails and drinking their cold beer.
That's it. And then the evening inside in a smoky, air conditioned. I think my environment, my vocal cords got a real. Yeah. They got toughened up there, to be honest.
I imagine a purist might mock that experience in some way. But I'm sure from a musician's point of view, that's some craft and learning about audience and all that kind of thing.
Totally. And you're in, and then some of that is people are dancing and they don't really pay attention to you. So you have all the time in the world to practice, really, but while getting paid. So I totally recommend that to anyone. But I wouldn't do that now, obviously. If people want to dance, but it's not, to be in a noisy pub singing is not something I would enjoy now, unless we're all having a hoolie, and that's a different thing. But but it's definitely good training. And then my boyfriend at the time, he got a job in Verbier in Switzerland, and so I got a job there in a piano bar. As well, we moved to Switzerland, and then.
What were you singing at the piano bar? What kind of?
Jazz, I suppose, really. Those kind of standards.
Yeah.
Loved all that. And then skiing all day. How bad? What a bad lifestyle.
Life was tough.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And I also worked in a clothes shop now and then, and it was the best. It was such. Now I'm thinking, why did I ever stop doing that? Was the best lifestyle ever, but. There were people my age now that were still doing that, and they'd done it for I don't know how many years, but it was great. And then from there, I was dancing one evening, dancing at the disco, and this guy came up and he kind of started talking to me, and he was really hitting on my really good friend from Australia. And she said, and he really liked how I was dancing, and you should hear her sing. He never heard me sing. But anyway, he was a Norwegian guy called Ola Mele. And he was a bit of a headhunter. And he said, you'll be perfect for this band. They need a singer. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. He was just trying to get into my friend Snickers is how I was looking at it. But anyway, so then said, I'll call you because I think you'll be the perfect person for this job. I was like, no. Anyway, I went home. My father had a heart attack. So I was looking after his then business. And I got the phone call from this guy. And he said, can you come to Norway on Monday? This was like a Friday. to do an audition. I'm like, okay. So I did, and managed to drop a whole pallet of toilet paper on my toe before I went. So I was kind of drugged up. Yeah, because I was delivering everything but food to restaurants. And then arrived, and this guy, I had sent some sort of demo to him in the interim that I had. Something, I can't remember where that came from. Oh yeah, there was 2 guys that I did when I was doing the thing in Gran Canaria. And he'd heard that, and he'd played it to the guy that I was going to audition for, and he said no, he wasn't interested. He still brought me over. I had no idea this was going on. And we were at someone's house just outside Oslo, and I did my audition. And I didn't have... Anyway, I didn't feel well because of this toilet paper pallet business on my toe, and I was on heavy painkillers, stuff like that. Anyway, he'd written a new song called Answer, and I was to learn that song and then sing it. So I did, and that song ended up on that actual take ended up on the album that we then made after, because I did get the job, and they brought the record company over and the manager to Norway, and then I was home maybe 2 weeks, and then I was off to London after that, which is, it's kind of a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoosh.
Yeah.
What was the name of the band?
One Too Many.
One Too Many. So if you go onto Spotify, might you hear...
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
It's still alive and well.
No, it's there. The band already existed as a band, and band members had left, but they had this deal with A&M Records, and they had the only people left now were the pianist and the guitarist, and they needed a singer. So I had to they already had a demo that they wanted it to sound like with the former singer. So this new song was at least something that was mine, but I had to not change my voice, but it was a lot of work trying to get those 10 songs to be a little bit like her, which was hard work. But I arrived, and the Bee Gees were recording next door to us.
Wow.
So I was 22, and I was like, yeah, wow, was right. And you're trying to keep cool. They had put so much money, effort into this band. They had real high hopes for it in A&M Records. But it was like kind of Europop kind of music, and with musicality and stuff, and some pretty bad lyrics. But anyway, I thought I'd won the lotto, at the time. Amazing. And but the grind in the studio and the kind of trying to sound like somebody, it really wore me down. It was hard. It was really hard. It eroded my confidence a lot. And also then to have the suggestion of having Michael Jackson's backing vocalists come in, because they were in town doing a gig. And one of those people was Sheryl Crow. I mean, the 3 singers that he had for backing vocalists were unbelievable. And I just felt embarrassed that they were going to do backing vocals for me, if that makes sense. So it was a lot of conflicting feelings that year.
So imposter syndrome, was that what they call it?
Big time. Big time. And then the album came out, and we went, I went back to America and did all the shows I'd seen on television, like the American Bandstand, and millions of people watching, Nickelodeon doing, hi, I'm Camilla from One Too Many, and this is my, all this. And I was so embarrassed the whole time. Yeah. I knew, like, when you just asked before about, did you know you want to sing? I kind of knew after 9 months or so that this not really...
Wasn't you?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
Really not, like. And I wasn't happy, even though I was been driven in limousines, and, our record was like top 30 in America. We had a #1 in Norway for 17 weeks or whatever it was. It was a radio hit in England. But yeah, all that dancing around and miming and stuff, no, really wasn't for me. Yeah. And it was, I'm very grateful to have been there, and that I've experienced that, and to know what that was.
What did you learn from that experience?
That fame is not something that I'm looking for in any way, shape or form. Yeah. And it wasn't even then. I just wanted to sing, but then all the things that come with it, and all the things you have to do, and how people change around you, was just baffling. It was really embarrassing. I felt embarrassed for the people. It's like that you're so impressed by celebrity, or even, it's just embarrassing. It was all quite excruciating, I found, So the best thing out of that was that I met Colin and Colin and Steve, his manager, and their setup was so different. I mean, he was a writer. They had their own thing that they did, and I kind of slipped in on a banana shell and kept slipping, I feel, and I didn't, gather myself together until I left the situation. And it was a classic situation of manager with drug problem, people just not telling the truth, and you start to feel like a tool or something,
It's part of the music industry, I guess.
Yeah.
How long did that project last?
So I left I left properly in 1990, when we married, 1990, so a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably just, you took a job.
Yeah, that's it. And it's a record there, and some people really love it still. They still write to me about it, and it's still played on the radio, this particular one song called Downtown, So.
Did you ever play it?
No, I only hear it when people find out, and then they're like, oh my God, this is,
Do you have pain in your stomach when you hear it?
No, not anymore.
Not too bad?
Not anymore, no, it's fine.
It's just part of the story.
It's just, I look at that young woman, and I went, fair play, because, I kept it together, and you just pretend that you're fine when you're really not fine. But I kept it together enough.
How did you meet Colin?
On a boat on the Thames.
Ooh.
Yeah, on the brown water Thames. No, we were doing promotion for our publishing company, Rondor, which we were both signed to, and also to A&M, so we were on the same company. And I saw him across the way of the boat, and he saw me, and we were like, oh yeah, mm-hmm. Like, I've never seen anyone that looks like that before. I was really intrigued by him. And at some point, we just said hello, and we were introduced. And then as we left the boat, and we were all doing interviews and talking about whatever on this boat. And as we left the boat, my manager introduced me to him again. And she said, this is Colin Verncombe. This is Camilla. You know, she's like, oh yeah, I know. We're having dinner next week, he said to her, which we're not. Very cheeky.
He hadn't told you.
Very cheeky, yeah. And then we didn't meet. But then a few weeks later, there was the premiere of the film Buster, if you remember.
Yeah, with Phil Collins.
That's right. And tickets became available. So Colin, the record company, asked if he wanted to bring someone to this. And he said, I'd like to go with that woman from One Too Many. So that's how it was presented to me, as a sort of publicity. It'd be good if you went, because I actually had a boyfriend at the time. But he said, it'd be good if you go together with A&M and blah, blah, blah.
I'd like to explain that to my boyfriend.
Yeah.
But in the business, I presume there's lots of that. I need to go with this person because
it's
my
a
PR
publicity.
people think it's good.
That's it.
You say, okay, darling, have a nice night.
Yeah. Suffice it to say, it didn't last very long. But anyway, so we went on this date, and we had such a good time. We went to see the film, and then there was a big party in the National History Museum, and we just had a ball. And apparently there were bets from the record company, on which house we were going to stop in. We both went back to our own houses, and but that's how our friendship started. And we were friends then. This is like August, September, and we were friends till sort of February when other things were said and started to happen. And my boyfriend then, who was Swedish, had gone back around Christmas time. He wasn't there anymore. And we were just really good friends, and we got to know each other really well. That was really cool.
At what point would he have been in his career at that stage?
He would have been. It was A Wonderful Life was out, and that they would have had their, started to be recognised, and he was doing really well. I suppose I'd never heard of him before when I met him, but
that probably helped, I presume.
Oh yeah.
Instead of coming with all the trappings of who you are. But,
Jesus Christ, and he always had the following of these very deep kind of dark girls who were really deep, really kind of, and so there was a lot of women that wanted to
blonde Swedish girl.
Yeah, I know. This punched my eyes out, I'd say, when we met. But
How could you go with her? She has no depth.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a pop singer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that must have been weird.
Yeah.
So that was it.
That was it. So he proposed, and we were in Sweden. I had no idea this was going to happen. He had met my parents once before. I had met his. And we were newly lovers. I remember the date, but anyway, it's February. And and this is May. 3 months after we became lovers, he actually proposed to me. And I was in Sweden doing promotion. So I was out doing interviews, and he was at home with my mum and dad, and had asked for my hand in marriage without my knowing about it. My mum didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She hadn't, it was very formal, but I didn't even know. And then after I was finished working, all the people from the Swedish record company came back, and some of my friends, and we were all hanging out at my mum's and dad's. And he asked me to come down to my girl bedroom, and he was in the bag looking for something on his knee. And then he produced a ring. And I was completely shocked. So I was like, God, I don't know. Jesus, you give me an hour, I just have to. Because again, if we're going to make a commitment, it's not, it's a commitment. So it was fairly quick after 3 months into the relationship. He didn't wait
No
around.
messing with Colin.
No messing, no. Fair play to him. That took a lot of guts. And then I went upstairs and got my two friends, and my mom snuck down as well. And I laughed and cried for about an hour, talking about everything. And then I went up and said yes. And then we all went skinny dipping in the lake.
Yeah, that was a good way to celebrate.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, and of course then there was a life and a family and all of that. So when that starts, and two people, who are in unusual careers, the life of a musician or a songwriter is very, very difficult. Matching those lives together. Can you only be with someone from that background? Do you need to be with someone from that background for them to understand you, or is that a recipe for disaster?
I think it's a bit of both, probably.
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot of work for two people to be able to express themselves and have time. It's not always so easy. And in our case, because Colin had this big hit with Wonderful Life, there was a good income coming in from that. I had a bit of income but I didn't write any of the material that I was singing.
I hope you can join me in part 2, where Camilla chats about life with Colin and the move to Schull in West Cork with their young family. She talks about her music, the sudden death of Colin, and rebuilding her life again. Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.